In the heart of downtown Los Angeles, where the city's dreams and nightmares collide, a young woman's journey would end in one of the most perplexing mysteries of the 21st century. Elisa Lam, a bright 21-year-old student from Vancouver, arrived at the infamous Cecil Hotel seeking adventure and healing from her inner demon. What happened next has haunted millions worldwide. Her final moments, captured in chilling elevator footage, showed her behaving erratically, seemingly hiding from an unseen presence. For 19 days, she vanished without a trace, until hotel guests complained of dark, foul-tasting water. What they discovered would transform a missing person case into an international sensation that blurred the lines between tragedy, conspiracy, and the supernatural. But after years of silence, a single clue would shatter everything. Before I tell you what happened, comment your country and time below. The rain fell softly on the streets of downtown Los Angeles on January 26, 2013. As Elisa Lam checked into the Cecil Hotel, the drops traced paths down the hotel's weathered facade, a building with a history as dark as the storm clouds gathering overhead. For Elisa, this was just another stop on her solo journey through California, a trip meant to be a pilgrimage of self-discovery and healing. At 21, Elisa carried the weight of a brilliant mind trapped in the turbulence of bipolar disorder. On her Tumblr blog, Nouvelle/Nouveau, she shared her inner world with raw honesty. "I'm trying to find the person I used to be," she wrote weeks before her trip, the one who wasn't afraid of her own thoughts. Her post revealed a young woman navigating the treacherous waters of mental illness with courage and vulnerability. The Cecil Hotel, with its Art Deco grandeur fading under decades of urban grime, seemed an unlikely choice for a sensitive traveler. Built in 1924, the hotel had witnessed more than its share of darkness. Serial killers had called it home. Suicides had plummeted from its windows, and whispers of ghosts lingered in its corridors. For Elisa, perhaps it was simply an affordable option in an expensive city, a place to rest between adventures. The hotel lobby smelled of disinfectant and old cigarettes. Behind the front desk, clerks barely looked up as she presented her ID. Elisa, with her wide eyes and gentle smile, seemed out of place among the hotel's mix of long-term residents and transient visitors. She was assigned to a shared room on the 4th floor, where she would meet 3 other travelers she'd never met before. In the days that followed, Elisa explored Los Angeles with the enthusiasm of someone seeing America for the first time. She posted photos of the skyline, vintage stores, and coffee shop. "Los Angeles is everything I imagined and more," she wrote. "The palm trees against a smoggy sunset. It's like a painting." But beneath the surface of her excitement, something else was stirring. Her family in Vancouver received regular messages at first. Having an amazing time, she texted her parents, David and Yina Lam. But by January 29th, the communication stopped. The Lam family, close-knit and attentive, immediately sensed something was wrong. When February 1st came and went without word, they filed a missing person report with the Vancouver Police Department, who then contacted the LAPD. The investigation began with hotel staff searching Elisa's room. Her belongings were there: laptop, phone charger, clothing, and medications. Her passport and wallet were missing, but that wasn't unusual for a traveler. What was unusual was that her phone had been turned off since January 31st, and her social media accounts had gone silent. Detectives reviewed security footage from the hotel, and what they found would soon captivate the world. The elevator video from January 31st showed Elisa entering the elevator, pressing multiple buttons, and then stepping out repeatedly. At times, she appeared to be hiding from someone just outside the elevator door. She spoke to someone unseen, made strange hand gestures, and at one point seemed to be counting on her fingers. The footage lasted nearly 4 minutes, ended with her walking away into the hallway, never to be seen alive again. The LAPD released the video to the public on February 6th, hoping someone might recognize her behavior or provide information about her whereabouts. Instead, they ignited a firestorm of speculation. Internet sleuths analyzed every frame, some claiming to see mysterious figures reflected in the elevator doors, others suggesting supernatural involvement. The video went viral, viewed millions of times within days. As the search intensified, hotel staff and police combed through every floor of the Cecil. They brought in cadaver dogs, search rooms, and questioned residents. Nothing. Elisa had vanished into thin air. Her family flew to Los Angeles, desperately handing out flyers and pleading for information. "She's a gentle soul," her mother told reporters through tears. "She wouldn't just disappear like this." The investigation faced unique challenges. The Cecil Hotel housed a mix of tourists and long-term residents, some with criminal background. The building's layout was labyrinthine, with multiple entrances and exits. Security was minimal, and Elisa's erratic behavior in the elevator video suggested she might have been experiencing a mental health crisis, making her actions unpredictable. As February wore on, hope began to fade. The media attention shifted to newer stories. The Lam family returned to Vancouver. Their daughter daughter's disappearance an open wound in their lives. The LAPD continued the investigation, but with no new leads, the case grew colder with each passing day. On February 19th, hotel guests began complaining about low water pressure and discolored water coming from their faucet. Some reported that the water tasted strange. Maintenance worker Santiago Lopez was sent to the rooftop to check the hotel's water tanks. The Cecil Hotel's rooftop was normally off-limits to guests, accessible only through a locked door with an alarm system. The roof contained 4 large cylindrical water tanks, each holding thousands of gallons of water for the hotel's guests. As Lopez inspected the tank, he noticed that one of the lids appeared to be partially open. Using a ladder, he climbed up to investigate. What he found would turn the mystery of Elisa Lam's disappearance into one of the most haunting true crime stories of the decade. Floating in the water was Elisa's body, fully clothed, with her sneakers floating nearby. She had been in the tank for weeks, her body preserved by the cold water. The discovery sent shockwaves through the hotel and beyond. Guests were horrified to learn they'd been bathing in and drinking water from a tank containing a decomposing body. The Cecil Hotel faced multiple lawsuits and a PR nightmare. For the Lam family, it was a devastating answer they had prayed they would never receive. The Los Angeles County Coroner's Office conducted an autopsy, but the results only deepened the mystery. There were no signs of physical trauma, no evidence of sexual assault, and no drugs in her system other than her prescribed medication. The official cause of death was listed as accidental drowning, with bipolar disorder listed as a significant factor. But how did she get there? The water tank lid was heavy and difficult to open from the outside. The rooftop door was supposed to be alarmed and locked. To reach the tank, Elisa would have had to climb a 15-foot ladder, lift the heavy lid, and somehow fall or climb inside. Unable to get out, theories proliferated. Some believed she was murdered, her body placed in the tank to cover up the crime. Others suggested supernatural forces, pointing to the hotel's dark history and Elisa's strange behavior in the elevator. Still others believed it was a tragic accident, the result of a psychotic episode that led her to seek refuge in the water tank. The investigation continued for months, but no evidence of foul play ever emerged. No DNA other than Elisa's was found on or around the water tank. No witnesses came forward with information about her movements after the elevator video. The case was eventually closed, ruled an accidental death. For the Lam family, the official explanation brought little comfort. How could their bright, loving daughter have ended her days in such a horrific way? They sought answers, but the only certainty was that Elisa was gone, leaving behind a legacy of questions and a viral mystery that would fascinate and haunt the internet for years to come. The Cecil Hotel, eventually renamed Stay on Main, tried to distance itself from the tragedy, but for many, it would forever be associated with the mysterious death of Elisa Lam. Her story became a cautionary tale about mental health, urban isolation, and the dark corners of the human psyche. As the years passed, Elisa's case settled into that strange category of true crime mysteries that resist easy explanation, like the Black Dahlia before her. She became part of Los Angeles lore, a ghost story told in hushed tone, a question mark in the city's history of darkness. But for those who knew her, who loved her, who followed her blog and felt connected to her journey through mental illness, Elisa Lam was not a mystery to be solved or a ghost story to be told. She was a daughter, a friend, a young woman with dreams and struggles, whose life ended far too soon in the most mysterious of circumstances. In the weeks following Elisa's disappearance, the Lam family existed in a state of suspended animation. Their Vancouver home, once filled with their daughter's laughter and music, fell silent. Her bedroom remained untouched, a shrine to a life interrupted. Her mother, Yenna, would sometimes sit on Elisa's bed, holding her daughter's favorite stuffed animal, imagining her return. Each morning brought the same crushing realization. Elisa was still missing. Each night offered no relief. Sleepless hours filled with questions and fear. The family's routine became a ritual of waiting for phone calls that never came, waiting for news that never arrived, waiting for a daughter who would never walk to their door again. David Lam, Elisa's father, threw himself into the search. He spent hours on the phone with investigators, demanding updates, pushing for answers. He created a website dedicated to finding his daughter, sharing photos and memories, hoping someone, somewhere, might have seen her. "She's not just another missing person," he told a local reporter. "She's our daughter. She's everything to us." The Lunar New Year passed without Elisa, the first time the family had celebrated without her in 21 years. Her favorite dishes remained untouched at the dinner table. Her seat at family gatherings remained empty, a painful reminder of her absence. The traditional red envelope, filled with money for good luck, sat unopened on her dresser. In Los Angeles, the investigation continued, but with each passing day, the trail grew colder. The LAPD assigned new detectives to the case, but they faced the same dead ends. The elevator video remained the last known sighting of Elisa, a cryptic final performance that raised more questions than answers. Internet sleuths formed communities dedicated to solving the mystery. They analyzed the elevator footage frame by frame, enhancing images, discussing theories on forums and social media. Some claimed to see ghostly figures in the video's reflection. Others suggested Elisa was communicating with someone through hand signals. A few even proposed elaborate conspiracy theories involving government experiments and supernatural forces. The Cecil Hotel, meanwhile, carried on with business as usual. Guests came and went, unaware that they were staying in a place where a young woman had vanished without a trace. Hotel staff, questioned repeatedly by investigators and journalists, grew weary of the attention. Some residents, protective of their transient community, clammed up, refusing to speak with reporters or police. As spring turned to summer, public interest in Elisa's case began to wane. Media outlets moved on to newer stories, fresher mysteries. The Lam family's pleas for information appeared less frequently in newspapers and on television. The investigation, once a priority, became one of many cold cases on the LAPD's docket. For Elisa's friends in Vancouver, the passage of time brought no healing. They gathered at her favorite coffee shop, sharing memories and tears. They organized candlelight vigils on what would have been her 22nd birthday, releasing balloons into the night sky, watching them disappear into the darkness, much like their friend had disappeared months earlier. Elisa's Tumblr blog, once a vibrant chronicle of her thoughts and feelings, became a digital memorial. Followers from around the world left messages of support and hope. "Wherever you are, Elisa, I hope you're safe," wrote one. "Your words helped me through my darkest time. Now I hope someone can help find you." The Lam family found small ways to cope. Yenna began volunteering at a mental health organization, channeling her grief into helping others. David returned to his job as an engineer, finding solace in precision and predictability of his work. Their younger daughter, trying to hold the family together, organized small family gatherings, attempting to create new traditions in the shadow of their loss. As the one-year mark of Elisa's disappearance approached, the family made a difficult decision. They would travel to Los Angeles again, not to search for answers, but to say goodbye. They planned a memorial service near the Cecil Hotel, hoping to bring some closure to their ordeal. The service took place on a gray February morning, exactly 1 year after Elisa was last seen. Family, friends, and even strangers who had followed the case gathered in a small park near the hotel. David and Elisa Lam stood before the small crowd, their faces etched with grief, but also with a fragile strength. "We may never know what happened to our daughter," David said, his voice steady despite the emotion. "But we know who she was, a bright, caring young woman who struggled with mental illness but never let it define her. She was a writer, a dreamer, a traveler. She was our daughter, and we miss her every day." Yenna placed a single white rose at the makeshift memorial, tears streaming down her face. "Wherever you are, Elisa," she whispered, "we love you. We will never stop loving you." As the family prepared to return to Vancouver, something shifted. A maintenance worker at the Cecil Hotel, responding to complaints about the water quality, made a discovery that would shatter the long silence and transform the mystery of Elisa Lam's disappearance into something even more haunting and inexplicable. The call came in LAPD's Central Division on the morning of February 19th, 2014, almost exactly a year after Elisa Lam's disappearance. A maintenance worker at the Cecil Hotel had found something in one of the rooftop water tanks, something no one ever expected to find there. Detectives arrived at the hotel to find it in chaos. Guests were being evacuated, some carrying luggage, others just the clothes on their backs. News vans were already gathering outside, reporters sensing a major development in a year-old mystery. The detectives made their way to the rooftop, where they found Santiago Lopez, the maintenance worker who had made the discovery. He was shaken, his face pale, his hands trembling as he pointed toward the water tank. "I was just checking the pressure," he explained. "Guests had been complaining about the water tasting weird, looking brown. I checked the tank, and one of the lids wasn't closed properly. I looked inside and..." He couldn't finish the sentence. The detectives approached the water tank cautiously. It was a large cylindrical container, about 10 feet high and 8 feet in diameter. The lid, made of heavy metal, lay partially open. Using flashlights, they peered inside. There, floating in the murky water, was a body, fully clothed, face down, long dark hair fanning out in the water. It was unmistakably Elisa Lam. The discovery sent shockwaves through the department. For a year, they had searched for Elisa, on the streets, in shelters, in morgues throughout Los Angeles County. They had never considered searching the water tanks on the hotel roof. How could they have? How could a young woman end up in a locked water tank on a locked rooftop? The scene became a flurry of activity. The coroner's office was called. Crime scene investigators arrived, and the hotel was officially declared a crime scene again. Guests were relocated to other hotels, their belongings later packed and shipped to them by hotel management. As the investigation into Elisa's death began, detectives faced immediate question. How did she get to the rooftop? The door was supposed to be locked and alarmed. How did she get into the water tank? The lid was heavy and difficult to maneuver. And perhaps most puzzling of all, why? Why would she climb into a water tank, knowing she might not be able to get out? The autopsy provided some answers, but raised even more questions. Elisa's body showed no signs of trauma, no evidence of sexual assault, no defensive wound. Her clothing was intact, her wallet and passport still in her pocket. Toxicology tests found only trace amounts of her prescribed medications for bipolar disorder. Nothing that would explain such erratic behavior. The coroner's preliminary report listed the cause of death as drowning, but the manner of death remained undetermined pending further investigation. Was it suicide, accident, homicide? Each possibility seemed unlikely given the circumstances. As news of the discovery spread, public fascination with the case intensified. The elevator footage, which had already garnered millions of views, went viral again. This time, viewers watched with new knowledge, looking for clues they might have missed. Theories proliferated across the internet, each more elaborate than the last. Some pointed to the hotel's dark history as evidence of supernatural involvement. The Cecil Hotel had housed serial killers like Richard Ramirez and Jack Unterweger. Numerous suicides had occurred there over the decade. Was it possible that some malevolent force had lured Elisa to the rooftop? Others suggested foul play, arguing that Elisa had been murdered and her body placed in the tank to cover up the crime. They pointed to the difficulty of accessing the rooftop and the water tank as evidence that she couldn't have gotten there on her own. Still others believed it was a tragic accident, the result of a psychotic episode. Elisa had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and her behavior in the elevator suggested she might have been experiencing a manic or psychotic break. In such a state, she might have sought refuge in the water tank, not realizing the danger until it was too late. The investigation focused on the practical questions first. How did Elisa access the rooftop? Hotel management claimed the door was always locked and equipped with an alarm system. But when detectives tested the alarm, they found it had been disabled for months. The lock, while functional, could be easily picked or forced. How did she get into the water tank? The lid was heavy, but not impossibly so. With effort, it could be opened from the outside. Once open, it would be relatively easy to slip inside, though getting out would be nearly impossible due to the smooth, slippery sides of the tank. Detectives interviewed hotel staff and residents again, this time with new questions. Had anyone seen Elisa on the rooftop? Had anyone noticed unusual activity near the water tanks? No one had. In a building with hundreds of occupants, it seemed no one had seen anything. The investigation expanded to include Elisa's medical history. Her family provided records of her treatment for bipolar disorder, including medications she had been prescribed. Mental health professionals consulted by the department noted that her behavior in the elevator was consistent with psychotic episode, which can occur in severe cases of bipolar disorder. As the investigation continued, detectives faced pressure from all sides. The media demanded answers. The Lam family pleaded for closure. The internet sleuths proposed increasingly elaborate theories, and the evidence or lack thereof provided no clear path forward. Weeks turned into months. The investigation slowed, then stalled. No evidence of foul play emerged. No witnesses came forward with new information. The physical evidence, what little there was, pointed away from homicide and toward a tragic accident. The final report from the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office listed the cause of death as accidental drowning, with bipolar disorder as a significant contributing factor. The case was officially closed, though the questions remained. For the Lam family, the official explanation brought little comfort. They had spent a year hoping for their daughter's return, only to learn she had been dead all along, her body hidden in the most unlikely of places. The pain of knowing was in some ways worse than the uncertainty of not knowing. The Cecil Hotel, facing lawsuits from guests who had been exposed to the contaminated water, eventually changed its name to Stay on Main. It attempted to distance itself from the tragedy, but for many, it would forever be associated with the mysterious death of Elisa Lam. As the investigation concluded, detectives were left with a troubling realization. Sometimes, the truth doesn't provide the closure we seek. Sometimes, the answers only lead to more questions. And sometimes, the most heartbreaking explanation is the one that makes the most sense. The news of Elisa Lam's death reverberated far beyond the confines of Los Angeles. In Vancouver, the Lam family received a call they had both dreaded and somehow expected. Their year-long vigil had ended, not with their daughter's return, but with the confirmation of her death. The media descended on their quiet neighborhood, cameras and microphones thrust toward their home, seeking reactions, comments, soundbite. The Lams, private people who've been thrust into the public eye by tragedy, retreated behind closed doors, their grief now a public spectacle. We always hope for a different outcome, David Lam told a local newspaper in a written statement. But we take some comfort in knowing that Elisa is at peace now. We ask that the media respect our privacy as we mourn our daughter. In Los Angeles, the Cecil Hotel became a macabre tourist destination. True crime enthusiasts and ghost hunters made pilgrimages to the site, taking photos, posting them online with hashtags like hashtag Cecil Hotel and hashtag Elisa Lam. Some even requested to stay in the room Elisa had occupied, turning a place of tragedy into a dark curiosity. The hotel management struggled to contain the fallout. Lawsuits from guests who had been exposed to contaminated water mounted. Negative reviews flooded travel websites. The hotel's dark history, once a footnote in tourism guides, became its defining characteristic. The LAPD held a press conference to announce the official findings of the investigation. Standing before a room packed with reporters, the lead detective explained that evidence pointed to an accidental death, likely the result of a psychotic episode related to Elisa's bipolar disorder. We understand that this conclusion may not satisfy everyone, he acknowledged, but based on the physical evidence, the autopsy findings, and the circumstances of the case, we have found no evidence of foul play. This was a tragedy, but not a crime. The announcement did little to quell speculation. Internet forums dedicated to the case exploded with activity. Some accused the police of a cover-up, arguing that it was impossible for Elisa to have access to rooftop and water tank on her own. Others pointed to inconsistencies in the timeline, suggesting that someone must have helped her or harmed her. Conspiracy theories proliferated. One popular theory suggested that Elisa had stumbled upon a drug operation in the hotel and was silenced to protect the perpetrators. Another proposed that she had been the victim of a serial killer staying at the hotel. A particularly elaborate theory involved a government experiment gone wrong, with Lisa as an unwitting test subject. The most persistent theories, however, were those that suggested supernatural involvement. The Cecil Hotel's history of deaths and its reputation as a haunted place fueled speculation that some malevolent entity had lured Elisa to her death. Some claimed to see ghostly figures in the elevator video. Others pointed to the strange symbols Elisa made with her hands as evidence of communication with the spirit world. Amidst a swirl of theories and speculation, the human element of the story was often lost. Elisa Lam was not just a mystery to be solved or a ghost story to be told. She was a daughter, a friend, a young woman with dreams and struggles, whose private battle with mental illness had become public property. Her Tumblr blog, once a place of quiet reflection, became a battleground for competing narratives. Some followers defended her memory, pushing back against sensationalism and conspiracy theory. Others analyzed her posts for clues, reading meaning into her words that she never intended. "I knew Elisa from her blog," wrote one follower. "She was kind, thoughtful, and struggling with mental illness like so many of us. It breaks my heart to see her reduced to a collection of conspiracy theories and ghost stories. She deserves better than that." As the months passed, public attention gradually shifted to newer mysteries, fresher tragedy. The Cecil Hotel attempted to rebrand itself, changing its name to Stay on Main and renovating its room. But for many, it would forever be associated with the strange death of Elisa Lam. The Lam family, seeking to reclaim their daughter's narrative, established a scholarship in her name at the University of British Columbia. The scholarship, awarded to students studying mental health advocacy, was their way of ensuring that something positive might emerge from their tragedy. "We want Elisa to be remembered for who she was, not how she died," Yenna Lam said at a scholarship announcement event. She was a caring, intelligent young woman who wanted to make a difference in the world. Through the scholarship, she can continue to do that. The Los Angeles Police Department, facing criticism over its handling of the case, reviewed its procedures for investigating missing persons cases. The department implemented new protocols for searching hotels and other transient accommodation, hoping to prevent similar tragedies in the future. Mental health advocates used Elisa's case to highlight the challenges faced by individuals living with bipolar disorder and other mental illnesses. They pointed to her death as evidence of the need for better support systems, more comprehensive treatment options, and greater public understanding of mental health issues. Elisa's story is a reminder of the vulnerability of those living with mental illness, said Dr. Sarah Chun, a psychiatrist who spoke about the case at a mental health conference. When someone is experiencing a psychotic episode, their perception of reality is distorted. They might do things that seem irrational or dangerous to others, but make sense in their altered state of mind. We need better systems to identify and help these individuals before tragedies strike. As the 5th anniversary of Elisa's death approached, a documentary filmmaker reached out to the Lam family with a proposal for a film about their daughter's life and death. After months of consideration, they agreed to participate, hoping to share a more nuanced, humanizing portrait of Elisa than the one presented in the media. The film, titled The Water Tank Mystery, The Life and Death of Elisa Lam, premiered at a small film festival in Vancouver. It featured interviews with family members, friends, mental health professionals, and investigators, offering a comprehensive look at the case from multiple perspectives. Perhaps most moving were the excerpts from Elisa's own writings, read by an actress with a voice similar to hers. Her words, filled with hope, fear, and self-reflection, painted a portrait of a young woman navigating complexities of mental illness with courage and vulnerability. "I'm learning to accept the darkness as part of who I am," she wrote in one post. "But I'm also learning to seek the light, even when it feels far away. Someday, I hope to find a balance between the two, to live fully in both the light and the dark." The film received positive reviews, with critics praising its sensitive handling of a difficult subject. It offered no definitive answers to the questions surrounding Elisa's death, but provided something perhaps more valuable: context, understanding, and empathy. As the years passed, Elisa Lam's case settled into that strange category of true crime mysteries that resist easy explanation, like the Black Dahlia before her. She became part of Los Angeles lore, a ghost story told in hushed tone, a question mark in the city's history of darkness. But for those who knew her, who loved her, who followed her blog and felt connected to her journey through mental illness, Elisa Lam was not a mystery to be solved or a ghost story to be told. She was a daughter, a friend, a young woman with dreams and struggles, whose life ended far too soon in the most mysterious of circumstances. In the end, perhaps that is the most important legacy of Elisa Lam's story, not the mystery of her death, but the reality of her life. A life marked by struggle, but also by hope, by darkness, but also by light, by fear, but also by courage. A life that, though cut short, continues to resonate with those who see in her story a reflection of their own struggles, their own hopes, their own humanity. Justice may come late, but it never vanishes. In Elisa's case, justice took the form of understanding, compassion, and a renewed commitment to mental health awareness. Her death remains a mystery, but her life has meaning, a reminder that behind every headline, every viral video, every true crime sensation, there is a human being deserving of dignity, respect, and remembrance. This case reminds us that sometimes the most profound mysteries are not those that can be solved by evidence and investigation, but those that touch the deepest parts of our shared humanity. In Elisa Lam's story, we see the fragility of life, the complexity of the human mind, and the enduring power of love to transcend even the most inexplicable tragedy.